Taylor Brough. This is a video that I'm calling The Art of the Overview, which basically covers how to write great overviews, both AF and NEG, as well as how those overviews should change and shift and develop over the evolution of the debate. So let's start with the AF. A great overview, and I should say, like, most of my advice is going to be geared towards the K, although these can also be adopted by plan teams when debating critical arguments as well. So a great overview should describe the harms or impacts of the AF. You want to isolate 2 to 3 harms or impacts that are different from each other. You don't want an impact that is just the repetition of another impact with the same words. And you should always use active verbs to describe. Remember that you need to develop strong impact language that sounds like impacts. You can pull that language from your carded evidence. You can also theorize that language with your partner or with your debate coach or on your own. And you should attend to different impact levels as you write your overview. So if you're reading an AF about racial capitalism, you could have the following 3 impacts, for example. You could have an impact about accumulation by dispossession, that the status quo requires that the financial machinery of the world, become profitable by dispossessing others, which is based on a racialized and bifurcated social schema solidified by racial capitalism. Your second impact could be a colonial mimesis argument that incites all of us to attempt to have subjectivities that mimic those of the colonizer and or bourgeois capitalist, which both ensures the maintenance of the current system, and it also demands that we do all kinds of colonial or assimilationist things in order to participate in that order in a particular kind of way, whatever forestalls revolution, whatever you want to say. The third impact could be that the world order is predicated on an extractive logic, which means that, it produces an asymmetrical and segregated world that necessitates an endless extraction from the global south in order to sustain life in the global north. I don't know. I kind of just came up with those. But you can see how each of those impacts represents kind of a different tier of how we might think about the implications of racial capitalism. You should not be in these debates like the impact of the AF is racial capitalism, because it's really difficult to weigh a large power structure that you have described 0 about against a highly specific impact scenario that the negative will be bringing into the debate. So you want to place a high burden on yourself to effectively describe your impacts. All right. So then after you do that, you need to describe, or even before, you need to describe how the AF method or plan resolves those impacts. And you want to do this in depth, right? Like borrow language from your solvency advocate, make it seem very clear how the AF represents an intervention into the logic of extraction, into the mode of colonial mimesis, into the kinds of dispossessing accumulations that racial capitalism depends on. You really want to build out really strong solvency arguments in your overview. Ideally, your overview should be no more than 45 seconds for a 2AC and much shorter if in the rebuttals, under 30 for sure in the rebuttals. The negative overview is very similar, but instead of impacting out the harms of the status quo, you want to here describe your meta link to the AF. This is kind of like your thesis argument about what is bad about the affirmatives approach. And that should go in your overview. You should think of the overview as like your thesis of the essay that you're writing. And then the body of the speech is like the body of your essay, right? You'll elaborate with warrants what each of your smaller link arguments are that fit under and substantiate this broader link argument. The AF's investment in racial capitalism results in an asymmetrical and segregated world order predicated on extraction, that seeks to accumulate by dispossession, produces an endless financialized war against global others, and is predicated upon a form of colonial mimesis that incites all of us to participate in this order rather than tear it down, which forecloses and forestalls the possibility of the revolution promised by the alternative. And then you want to say, that the alternative resolves this in some way in your overview. Once again, no more than 45 seconds for the 2NC. Over the course of the debate, of course, your overviews should get increasingly comparative with the overviews and impact framing that the other team is offering. And you should increasingly implicate your impacts in the debate. You should be like, we are winning this extractivism argument, this extractivism impact, which internal link turns AF solvency because X, Y, and Z. And you should also use your overviews to narrativize the debate. There's a reason why 2ARs start with the 2NR made the wrong decision, why 2NRs start with the 1AR, conceded X, Y, and Z. The 1AR made this particular mistake. It's over for them. Here are the reasons why, right? You want to use your overview increasingly to implicate and frame the debate, and you need to put impact framing in your overviews. For example, when the other team, this is not just like util debates, right? But when the other team is extending like, we all go extinct because of warming, and you have a link argument that's like apocalyptic rhetoric and extinction rhetoric that surrounds warming is bad, it represents a form of techno-managerialism, blah, 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 that protects power. You need to bump that part of the debate up into your overview so that judges can more clearly see how directly responsive your link arguments are to the way that the AF is trying to win offense. So that's my advice broadly for overviews. I know the video was quick, but I hope it can still be helpful for you in figuring out, good overviews can really help you win debates, but you have to continue to revise them as the debate continues, and you can't just, people don't write 2AR blocks for a reason. So you should not just read a blocked out overview in the 2AR. You have to have it narrativize, frame, implicate, and compare the debate. So yes, good luck with your overviews.